And that right there, folks, is how you kill a potential faction in one night. I'm John Recklin with a retro review of WWE SummerSlam 2010. And after that main event where John Cena, Mr. Five Knuckle Shuffle, Mr. Wahaha himself, he decided to book himself to beat Justin Gabriel and Wade Barrett, at least according to reports. So where was Nexus afterwards? They were in the fucking bin, and it's so disappointing. I don't know if the Nexus would have survived past, mid-2011 or even, early 2012, but you know what? It would have been something different. I'm not saying that everybody was a goddamn world-class athlete, but they had something there from the June 7, 2010 edition of Raw. 2.5 months, piss down the drain, shit down the toilet, whatever the fuck you want to call it. It was fucking rotten. The card wasn't all that good anyway. I didn't like this pay-per-view very much, but again, they just had to have the Nexus win. Fucking hell. It was so simple. So fucking simple. And they just pissed it away. So SummerSlam 2010, aka the night the Nexus died. So, it starts off with an opening, narration, changes in the air. Well, they were right. It just wasn't the good kind of change. It was the status quo, and no wonder people started to give up on John Cena at this point because they just had to make him into Superman. And apparently, according to reports, he was in charge of the finish. So yeah, fuck John Cena for burying the goddamn Nexus like this. Yeah, he lost at other SummerSlams, one for each Nexus member afterwards. Congratulations. Still doesn't forget what the fuck he did here. So Cole, Stryker, and Lawler on commentary. So when Matt Stryker is the best commentator that you have, and nothing against Matt Stryker, but it's just he was a little bit loud and could be, a little bit annoying at times because he had a lot of energy. When he's the best commentator, you're in trouble because Jerry Lawler was past his prime at this point. This was during the heel Michael Cole beginnings and everything. And holy fuck, it got really, really annoying. Heel Michael Cole actually made me wish that man had never been hired by WWE. Not that he never had the opportunity to earn money somewhere, but that WWE had never hired him. Whether he was being told to say that shit or not, fucking hell, he was annoying. Ziggler with Vicky, I vote for the Wall Guerrero versus Kofi Kingston. The Intercontinental Championship, and Vicky screeched, and it was SOS Kofi, where he still had the Jamaican music, despite the fact he didn't have a Jamaican accent anymore. And the action was fine. Dolph used a sleeper, but then Nexus attacked and laid him out, and then Wade basically said, the Nexus will rise up in the main event. Well, Wade, you were sort of right. I wish you were right. I really wish you were. I wish they could retcon this, but they can't. You can't retcon this shit when you decide to basically destroy it. So then, we basically get Jericho and Miz, who's the United States Champion and the Money in the Bank winner for Raw. Jericho wants Miz on the team, says we need another team member. We really need another team member. And then Edge eats a Slim Jim because they have a sponsorship. And then Miz says he'll think about it and takes Edge's meat out of his hand and devours it. Have fun unseeing that. Molina versus Alicia Fox. Cameron's favorite match. Yes, I had to get that joke in. Look, it's a running gag and everything, and now potential, AEW signing or signee, Cameron, Ariana Andrew. Great, good. That's how you improve your women's division. Let's take somebody that never was and was never any good. And, maybe with a little bit of training, maybe she can just figure out how to pin somebody after the third or fourth attempt. Whatever. I'll talk about that at another point. But yeah, the fans didn't really care. And Molina was coming off an ACL injury or something like that. It's nothing against either of these women. Both these women are talented enough in the ring. Of course, Molina is not a legend in women's wrestling. Alicia Fox is a pretty good axe kick and a really good Northern Lights. But nobody cared about this. And I'm not even knocking the women. Just nobody cared. It was given 5.5 minutes, and then a lot of awkward stalling and everything, selling of injuries, and then Molina hit a weird facebuster 1, 2, 3. And then Josh Matthews, because we didn't have enough fucking twits on this goddamn show, shows up to interview Molina, and then we get Laycool here. That is Layla and also Michelle McCool. Layla, the better member, and Michelle McCool, who at least was a good annoying bitch. It was a ripoff of The Beautiful People, which was a ripoff of other things, which was a ripoff of Mean Girls, that is. But still, whatever. Copycats exist all the time in wrestling. Molina attacks them both, and then they attack Alicia Fox, and they kind of lay her out and everything. So, okay, because this is when we still had the Women's and Divas Championships, because we needed 2 women's titles, because they were utilizing the women so well that they had to, have 2 titles. Except they totally weren't doing that, which is unfortunate because they had some talented women. And unfortunately, they would also give the Bellas a Divas Championship run at some point. That was a great fucking idea, except it totally wasn't. Again, don't know if you can tell, didn't really like this pay-per-view. Trace Atkins, Marlon Wayans in the crowd. Oh boy, Marlon Wayans of the Scary Movie franchise. Remember that? Remember the Scary Movie franchise? You shouldn't. It was rubbish. Straight Edge Society members, CM Punk, Joey Mercury, and Gallows, or Joseph Mercury, and, Luke Gallows, who would later become Doc Gallows, and then would come back as, Gallows, and just, good God, why they fucked him up so bad in WWE. He was Festus at one point. And also Serena was there. I almost said Selena. Serena. And they took on Big Show. 3-on-1 handicap match. Hey, you want to see Big Show sell his hand and basically demolish 3 people? Congratulations, your oddly specific requests are met with this match. Where pretty much they just they try to beat the shit out of Big Show, and he barely sells and then beats the shit out of them. Punk leaves, and he pins both Gallows and Mercury. Hooray! Good. Straight Edge Society deserved a whole lot better. That feud with Mysterio was fucking incredible, and when Punk sung, Happy Birthday to Ray's daughter, that was fucking great. And then, yeah, cool. So that's how you dismantle another faction. A lot of factions being dismantled here. And then Kane is seeking vengeance for Undertaker against Ray, and he has a casket. Sheamus says, hey, that casket's too big for Ray, but it's big enough for Orton. How about you let me use it? Kane's like, no, and you get in my way, and I'll disembowel you. He basically said he would disembowel him. And then it's like, well, you got guts. I'll give you credit for that. And hey, if we're united, we can take on the world. This was, by the way, when the brand split was technically still happening, the first brand split. And then here comes Miz to say he will join Team WWE eventually. He says this. This was a 7-match card. Wait, no, this had 6 matches on it, and well, including a dark match. And what was annoying about this is they had They had this promo basically to pad it out. And because the elimination match was going to get so much time, as it should have with the hype it got. But this was a pay-per-view that could have benefited from having one other match. Because Miz, kill time. And said, oh, Cena begged him to be on team. Brett says Miz was the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. Cole was his cheerleader. It was so goddamn annoying. Somebody should have chased Michael Cole out of the arena and out of the goddamn company. Then we get Sheamus versus Orton for the WWE Championship. Anyone who interferes gets suspended indefinitely, and if Orton loses, he can no longer challenge for the title while Sheamus is champion. I wonder who's going to win this match. Orton. Orton wins this match. It's not that these two aren't talents. Sheamus was very green, and no, that's not an Irish pun. Could be. Maybe you can make it your own Irish pun. Your own personal Irish pun. Doesn't quite roll off the tongue like that 80s song. Moving on. This could have actually been pretty good. It was better than the Royal Rumble 2010 match. That's not saying much, though, because Sheamus was green. He was in the midst of his second WWE Championship run. And, yeah, this didn't work. Now, they had some good momentum trades at the end where Sheamus countered the RKO, hit a bro kick, and he tried to, he looked like he was going to get the victory, but Orton kicked out of the bro kick, and then he got a chair. He got DQ'd by shoving the ref. So Orton wins, so technically he can challenge for the championship. But Sheamus was like, oh, I can escape, because it was a dodgy finish. And then basically it was a chair tease, a low blow, and then an RKO on the announcer's table. It didn't break. Cool. All right, that's your lot right there. At least we got something good with the next match. No, we didn't. Kane versus Ray for the World Championship. Kane had cashed in on Ray recently after winning Money in the Bank at Money in the Bank and then cashing in that night. And Kane brings the casket to the ring. Okay, what's Kane going to do with the casket? Oh no, he's going to do some stuff. Somebody's going to appear out of the casket, except they teased it way too long and I stopped caring. This was around the time where Undertaker had been put in a persistent vegetative state, and Kane was out for vengeance, trying to destroy people. And he blamed Ray. This was not good. This match wasn't good. And Kane and Ray had good. Kane and Ray, it just sounds like a weird, female buddy cop flick or series, but this didn't work. The pacing was off. I didn't really care. They tried, and they had the casket there ringside. 1-arm chokeslam, 1, 2, 3. Kane says that Ray will pay with eternal suffering. Too bad we're already enduring that with this pay-per-view. And then we get 2 more chokeslams, a tombstone. And he kept opening the casket during this. Finally opens the casket, and here's the Undertaker. And let me tell you right now, if you want to see the moment the Undertaker hung on too long, look at how he looked here. Now, apparently he needed some kind of shoulder surgery, or he had come back from shoulder surgery, because he left after Mania 26, so about 4 months previously, after that great match with Shawn Michaels, closed Mania 26. So, okay, cool. He needed some time off. because he beat his body up so much. And we're supposed to have sympathy for the fact that the man gave his body, his mind, and his soul, except for the fact nobody fucking asked him to keep doing that, except he kept doing it for Vince. I say this as a fan that Undertaker damaged his legacy a ton, and this was proof of it. Now, I'm not saying he should have never wrestled again, but the fact that he came back for this, and this feud with Kane just wasn't good. It just wasn't. The matches weren't... Kane did fine with his world title run. Undertaker just wasn't. This didn't work. This didn't fucking work at all. Undertaker got in Ray's face. Oh, I believe you. You didn't do this. And Undertaker was coughing. He sounded rough. And again, maybe he wasn't feeling well. And that's entirely possible. He beat up his body for like 23 years. But this was stupid. This was fucking stupid. And then he's like trying to choke slam Kane. But Kane's like, no, you will not choke slam me. And I was like, no, I will. No, you won't. And they're just doing this and everything. It's like weird puppet theater. Or it's like, it's like they were channeling Benoit. But this was ridiculous. He hit a tombstone on Undertaker, and it's just, Undertaker look at him. He looked done. He looked fucking done. And even any of the subsequent matches he would have at Mania or any of the random TV matches he didn't really look like he was ever all there again. And he fucking damaged his goddamn legacy. And then we get to Nexus, Team Nexus versus Team WWE. Team Nexus, by the way, Wade Barrett, Darren Young, Heath Slater, Justin Gabriel, Michael Tarver. What the fuck happened to Michael Tarver? Skip Sheffield. They left meat on the table for him, so they're good. And David Otunga. Yes, David Otunga used to wrestle. I mean, he was a better wrestler than he was, I guess, an analyst? But whatever. They took on Team WWE, which was John Cena, Chris Jericho, Edge, John Morrison, Truth, Bret Hart in 2010. And I love Bret. He should not have been fucking wrestling or really doing anything active like that in 2010. That match with Mr. McMahon at WrestleMania 26. Oh dear. And here's Miz showing up. I'm going to be the 7th member of Team WWE. Cena's like, no, you're not. It's Daniel Bryan. They could have had Daniel Bryan betray John Cena and he could have been Ultimate Heel, but nope. The crowd was cheering Daniel Bryan, and they were like, hey, we know you choked out Justin Roberts with the tie. He probably liked it, the sick freak, especially judging by the leaked texts that he from him. But anyway, he did that, and hey, 2.5 months later, hey, come back, Daniel. We don't want you to go anywhere, actually. We feel bad. We were pressured to do this stuff. Please come back. We will treat you well. Then they decided to make him... make him a vegan on TV, and how the Bellas liked how much of a vegan he was. It was like virgin. Remember that shit? Remember that? And something against the Bellas, at least in this instant. And hey, you got to meet Brie out of it, and they seem happy, and that's great. And Brie's out of the fucking ring. Hooray! But this was fucking ridiculous. Cole was insufferable to hear. Fucking insufferable. Oh, Daniel Bryan's a little dweeb and a little sick. Daniel Bryan would have been well within his rights to put a goddamn crossface on Michael Cole in a kayfabe sense, so Cole could have been stretchered out. Because I don't want anybody actually hurt, but it just would have been perfect if he could have gotten his hand. Daniel Bryan versus Michael Cole at Mania 27 actually probably would have been better than Lawler versus Cole. Because then you could have had a tag match, and you could have had Bryan choke out Michael Cole. It would have been great. This match, it featured Bret Hart again in the ring in 2010. This match should have been good. It got a world of hype. It got almost 40 minutes. With entrances, actually got about 45 minutes. Whew. Let's buckle in, folks. Bryan eliminates Darren Young within a minute. Taps him out with a LaBelle lock. Then Morrison eliminates Michael Tarver about, 3 minutes later with Starship Pain. Then Skip Sheffield. The future Ryback. The future, really not nice guy. Eliminates Morrison with a lariat, and then eliminates Truth with a lariat a little bit later. So now it's down. Now now the numbers are starting to get even. Bret gets disqualified for using a chair on Skip, and then Edge eliminates Skip after a code breaker from Jericho and a spear from him. So, okay, cool. All right, it's 4-4 now. And then we get Jericho eliminating Otunga with the Walls of Jericho 19 minutes in. Slater eliminates Jericho a minute later with, some kind of weird move out. When Jericho accidentally bumped in to Cena because that was a great idea. Let's have miscommunication there. And then Slater eliminates Edge with a schoolboy 30 seconds later because they're doing more arguing and everything. And then Cena gets knocked down, and then Jericho and Edge lay him out and beat him up and everything. So Daniel Bryan has to go it alone, and he taps out Heath Slater with the bell lock. But then here's Miz. Because Miz doesn't care about WWE, he cares only about himself. He lays out Daniel Bryan, which Cole basically seems to cheer, because Cole's a goddamn idiot. Have I mentioned recently that Michael Cole is one of the worst wrestling commentators in wrestling history, at least long term? One of the worst. I'm not talking about one-offs. Michael Cole had maybe, a 3-year period, 2002, 2005, maybe, where he was any good. Maybe. I mean, and that was mainly due to the fact that Taz was there, and Taz was basically a jokester. This was... this is where it gets worse. So, Daniel Bryan gets laid out. Okay, Barrett covers him. 2-on-1. We got a few minutes left. So, Cena is trying to battle back and everything, but he's injured. And then Justin Gabriel and Wade Barrett put him on the outside. They give him a DDT, and this is about 2 hours, 50 minutes, and 56 seconds. I actually timed it. Within a minute of taking the DDT on exposed concrete, Justin Gabriel tries to give him a 450 splash. Cena rolls out of the way and then tops him 1, 2, 3. Just covers him, and then instantly gets the STF, the STFU, whatever the fuck you want to call it, PG or not, and taps out Wade Barrett 25 seconds later. That is how you fucking kill a goddamn faction, and how you put it in the goddamn bin in one night. And it's fucking disgusting. It's still one of the worst decisions that WWE has made. And once again, to wrap this all up, I'm not saying that the Nexus would have been one of the greatest factions of all time, but with that debut and with the build they had, even with some of the stumbling blocks that they did, like them running from Cena and Brett, and I love Brett, nobody should have been running from Brett at that point. It would have been a bad idea, but it would have been a bad look at least. This is stupid. It was so fucking stupid. John Cena deserved every bit of ridicule and then some for what he fucking did here. And Vince McMahon deserves a whole bunch of ridicule. Everybody involved in making sure that the Nexus was buried, and they were buried. They were fucking buried. They were never the same after this. Punk's Nexus was no good, even though some talents would come out of it and do pretty well. This was not a good idea. I mean, Mason Ryan, Welsh Batista didn't do all that well. Nothing against the guy, he just never really succeeded. This was something they actually thought was a good idea. Let's bury the Nexus. And then, wait a second, why are fans upset that we don't make stars? And I'm not saying that WWE hasn't made stars before or since. I'm not saying that. But this was a chance for them to make a faction. Make it matter. And nope, they listened to Cena and effectively ruined the rest of 2010. Even with some of the good matches they had, that was it. That was the end of Wade Barrett, by the way. Because Wade Barrett was effectively buried by chairs at TLC 2010 after losing at Survivor Series 2010. Man, they really hated the Nexus, didn't they? And they really hated the fans. Good job slapping the fans in the goddamn face. So anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments. My Twitter handle's there. Like, share, subscribe. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.